LifeSpeak podcast sponsored by Chafin Real Estate Services. Looking to make your next move? You're in the right place. Welcome to LifeSpeaks, the podcast that dives deep into real stories, big ideas, and life-changing insights. Visit chafinrealestate.com or call 775-575-5000 today.
Just want to thank you again for joining our podcast, LifeSpeaks, where we get into the nitty-gritty of people's stories. And we're continuing our podcast right now with Angela Bakker, and again about the Reno Miracle Baby.
Thanks, Leanne. Thanks for inviting me to share this story.
Yes.
It's powerful, and I still sometimes don't understand why God picked us, but I'm grateful. I am very grateful, and I don't feel worthy to have been a part of a miracle, a modern miracle. And I've had a lot of people, including in the medical field, say it's a miracle. What happened was a miracle, and there's no explanation. We have incredible medicine, and I can't thank our amazing hospital here in Reno, Renown, enough, because had that one doctor not taken a chance, but it's more than what they did. And everybody knows that. This isn't. So not only the survival, baby can survive, but the outcomes of what we had. I had a friend I met here in town who went through a major crisis, and she became a national advocate. It's a story I'm not sharing right now. It's not about that. But she said, my prayer, because we were both pregnant at the same time, she said, my prayer is that she's unscathed. And I said, what do you mean? That because she went through this trauma. And she said that she comes out of this intact. Whatever that means. We were told that preemie babies don't like to be held. They've been poked so much in the heels for blood draws. They don't like socks and shoes. And I don't know if that's what she meant, but she said, I want her to come out of this very traumatic start to life like it never happened.
No, that's a great prayer.
Beautiful Christian friend that did that. And so even during the NICU, our doctors, and again, a neonatologist has got to be tough. They deal with these tiny little babies that die often, and they deal with a lot. Like, hats off. I don't know what anyone in the NICU gets paid, but I know it's not enough, because it's different taking care of an adult. Sweet, innocent, fragile little baby is the next level of
care.
Yeah, but it's that innocence that we talk about when we discuss pro-life too. That they are just the little innocent victim here.
That's right.
They didn't do anything to be in that mom's belly. They didn't do anything. They're just trying to be alive, That's right. And so there's that innocence and that I want to protect and take care of. Nobody wants to see a child suffer. Nobody wants to see a child with cancer or in the NICU. And there's just that next level of heartbreak. And so for these doctors and nurses to do what they do, I am just in awe. And thank you, for being willing to do this heartbreaking job. And I remember going into the NICU one day and just okay, what next? We talked about structure and plan. What happens now? We've got her off the vent. The first time we took her off the ventilator, it didn't work. Very traumatic. Because she's going to suffer a lot, having to be reintubated again. And what next? And so we eventually did get her off the vent. Thank you, Jesus. And she went to a different type of breathing apparatus. And all different...
How many weeks was that?
So we tried, I want to say it was about a month all up on a vent, trying to take her off way too early. But we tried. Dr. Yap insisted, sorry, I haven't used his name yet, but that was the barking doctor that we love. And so he insisted, and then we tried again, I think 2 weeks later. So again, 4 to 6 weeks, she was off, unusually early. And that was the number one goal, overcoming these perforated bowels, getting her eyes checked every week to make sure she wasn't going blind, her gash on her side, you name it, a little artery in her heart that hadn't healed. And there was more to come. There was more obstacles to come. It was definitely not an easy journey. And one neonatologist. I'm like, okay, so what happens now? What's the next thing? And she started crying, which they don't do. They just don't. They just don't in this level. And she said, I don't know. She said, Naomi's, we've never done this before.
Wow.
That's what she said. And she said, we wait and see what we can do. But she's, because I'm like, okay, so what's, you have breast cancer. What do we do first? We do a scan, then we do chemo, then we do a scan. And so that was like, what's the plan here? What's her medical plan? She's like, I don't know. We don't know what to do here. We've never seen this.
They really like structure.
Yeah. Yeah. And so for her, it was like, and then she starts crying, and I was like, wow, they do have emotions.
Yeah.
And she's like, shared a story of a famous little black girl that had polio, and Wilhelmina, her name was. And she said, she reminds me of Wilhelmina. And she couldn't walk. And then she learned how to walk, and she went on to be in the Olympics, a true story. And she said, Naomi's like, Wilhelmina, you need to get her that book. And we have that book at home. And I read it, this little girl that was told she would never walk, and she ended up being a runner in the Olympics. Not that I'm predicting Olympics for Naomi, but basically she defied the odds. And so she was giving me that hope. And
I'm going to tell you a little side story, because we had some house sitters come to our house, and I don't usually allow children to be part of the house sitting thing, but the lady said, he's got cerebral palsy, and they were from Croatia. And basically the doctors had said, you just need to leave the baby here, and we'll dispose of him. And she said, I'm not going to be doing that. And then said, but he'll never walk, he'll never talk, he'll be blind, he'll be deaf.
yeah,
And when he was at my home, he was not only walking and talking, but he said the Lord's Prayer in Croatian to me.
oh my goodness.
And anyways, a long story of I could go on for probably 15 minutes, but, we don't know.
Right. And we like to think we do.
Yes, because we like structure.
We like structure, and we want to be able to prepare even for the
Worst.
ugly bad things.
Yes.
Hopefully the good, but I love that. I love that not only did the child survive, but he was like a vessel.
Yeah.
He was able to bless,
And blessed us. He took care of our dogs every day when
my
we were
goodness.
away, and she would send us pictures. I've got his pictures on my phone.
Yeah.
We just don't know. And it's really, even though it sounds like trite, it is about trusting God. But we don't even understand the depth of that word trust. Exactly what that means.
I mean,
until you're put in that position.
Yeah, it was like this level of almost hopelessness for me, where literally, Angela, you're not even going to be able to change your baby's diaper. Like, I'm going to take everything away from you that means you can control the situation. And that was like, now what? I have to trust, right? Because I have nothing else
to do.
I had nothing. No one was going to help me or fix this besides God. I knew that. I mean, there was a shadow of a doubt that if this was going to happen, there was only going to be one explanation, and it was going to point straight to him, because this wasn't possible. So you wonder, did it have to be this bad for it to point back to God? And when I was having that prayer, when I was holding her in my belly, like had my hands on her and was talking to her and to God, I promised him, because you're bargaining, you go through all the stages, and you're like, God, if you give me her, I will shout it from the rooftops. I'm a storyteller.
And that's why we're here.
Right. That's my career. And God has gifted me with the ability to share stories and a communicator. And I'm like, I will never not talk about it. And I will never, I will blast it, and I will give you the credit, because that's the only way this is going to happen. Yeah. And then I'm like, I know you can, you probably won't, but just so you know, if you do, I promise I'll do this. The bargaining, if you save me. And then of course we're here, right? Yes. So that was part of the story. But as far as the NICU journey, we had the one doctor just not cry, but I don't believe in God. But whatever you're doing is working.
Oh, wow.
Keep doing it. I can't believe in God. And just to say, there was plenty of neonatologists, doctors, nurses in that hospital that did believe in God. And there were plenty that don't. So I don't buy this whole I'm too scientific to believe in God. That's nonsense, because there are plenty of doctors and scientists and people that are 1 million times more intelligent than I am that do believe in God. So that argument's, null and void, because there were people in that NICU that would go and pray over her during their shifts. We had nurses that were like,
Love that.
and it wasn't through the hospital, but they were through a friend they had that, just so you know, there's a nurse in the NICU that every time she's there, she prays over her.
Wow.
And so we kept it all very, don't want to push your faith on anyone. That's very, politically incorrect. But we knew there was some neonatologists of faith there and some that weren't. And they weren't necessarily my faith, all of them, but one of them was, there was a bad day. We had lost a twin in the next cube. It was very tragic. The whole mood in the NICU was down. Naomi was struggling to breathe. Just this lung, we couldn't overcome these lung issues. They were struggling, and he had enough, this poor doctor. And we're like, well, what can we do? And this was one of the phone calls where we got a phone call that things are not looking good. And he said, just pray. That's all you got. He was kind of upset. He'd had a bad day, right? And he goes, all you can do is pray. That's the only thing you can do, because basically there's nothing we can do. And he was a man of faith. But it was his demeanor, like, that's all you got. At this point in life, you have no control over the situation. Yeah. So we had these different encounters with all the different doctors and nurses where, there was a dark day for me, and I was in the hallway just sobbing. I couldn't come in. I couldn't come in. I was like this cloak of despair and anxiety, and what am I going to see when I go in? And I just sat in the hallway crying, and the nurse came out, and she was just so encouraging, and just this beauty, this shining, like, she needs you and you need her, and she's going to be okay, and I think they realized I was sinking, and we're going to connect you with a surviving NICU mum, and she's going to, and they did, and
that's great.
I was able to get the support. Meanwhile, my husband was the rock. He's like, everything's going to be fine. At this point, I don't know, he had more faith or more ignorant. I don't know what it was, but he was
different personalities. Like, I would get upset with him that he could sleep. I'm like, what's wrong with you? How can you sleep? Like, your daughter's dying in hospital. And he's like, I've prayed for her. I've tucked it away. I'm getting sleep now. And it's like, no, this consumes you. You don't sleep. And so just even battling that, how do you let this go and hand it over to God? And again, different personalities, maybe different levels of faith, maybe all the hormones that were surging and raging. Say it's everything.
All of the above. But thank God he had that faith.
Tell me about the first time he held her.
So,
I know we'll hear from him, but tell me about your story.
And before he comes in, I'll check that diary I haven't looked at in a long time to see when it was. But it was a significant time before he was allowed to hold her. The mum was the only one like they would allow. Now, granted, not all of these situations do not have mothers that are even alive or present. They choose, if there was a baby. So there are kangaroo care matters, right? It really matters. The touch matters. There's science behind it. They can't explain it, but there is science behind.
I love that it's kangaroo care and you're from Australia.
I know. I just saw
hysterical.
a whole bunch of kangaroos a few weeks ago.
That is like, God, that's funny.
It is
that's
cute.
It's a little
honestly,
NICU humor.
Never even noticed it till you said it now. Like, to me,
You're kidding me.
No.
Oh, see, I'm a comic.
It's just a kangaroo, because kangaroos are, I don't know, part of our life. But it is unique because that baby is inside the pouch, as far as that baby is, the mom carries it, not on the back, where it's clasping, like she has a little pocket, and that baby is almost still one with the mother's body. So they call it kangaroo care.
I love it.
When you hold the baby, skin to skin. They also call it skin to skin kangaroo care. And I guess the benefits mostly come from the mother, but obviously any type of holding and even just talking to the baby, reading to the baby. And I'm like, why? I felt so useless. I'm like, I'm sitting here, and I'm just reading a book to her. And one of our respirators, they're the ones that work with it, and they're like, I don't know, but when the parent shows up, the baby does better. Even just shows up, let alone talks. He said, I don't know the science behind it, but I can tell you, having worked in the NICU and having seen those precious little babies where the mum doesn't show up. and the nurses do everything they can, and we have volunteers. But when the babies have someone show up and spend time with them regularly, they do better. And I was like, all right, makes no sense because I'm just standing here. I'm not even able to hold her at this point. But once I was able to hold her, I felt like I was doing a little more. Like, okay, I'm helping the nurses out. They, she's going to have a good sleep tonight. Everyone's benefiting from this. And so then I would say it was a good 3 or 4 weeks. So I don't believe my husband, when Michael, was able to hold her till I roughly guesstimating a couple of months in. And so at this point, her eyes were open. She had a voice, and I'll never forget the day I walked into the NICU, and I'm like, why is there a kitten in here? It's these random, I'm like, there's a kitten in the NICU. I could hear the sound.
Oh my God.
And, she's in a incubator, and so it's already muffled, and it's this tiny, precious little cry that's barely there. And then it's already muffled by everything. And so it sounded like a kitten. And I'm like, children aren't even allowed in the NICU, unless you're a patient. Why do they have a cat in here? And then I'm like, it's my baby, her voice. She has a voice. And you forget these things. Like, you talk about the baby's milestones at home. They're walking, they're doing, like, being able to dress her, put a little NICU jacket on her. It's like a little wrap where all the cords can come out, but being able to pick an outfit to put on my baby, and it was just like a little top, was major because it meant her skin wasn't so frail that she couldn't have something on her. Being able to hold her, to change her diaper. I mean, all those things were just like massive accomplishments that if you had a healthy full-term baby, no big deal. No big deal. They're dressed before you leave the hospital.
Seat, we're out of here.
Yeah, changing the diaper, doing all the things. First bath. Like, doing those things was like having a drink of water when you're really, really thirsty. So you're sipping all day, no big deal. You haven't had a drink all day, and you have that first sip, and you're like, oh, water is amazing. And that's what it was like. It was like all these moments. There was some lows.
So precious.
Yeah, but the tiniest moments were mountaintop experiences because it's like, we got to dress her. We got to, bathe her. She's well enough to be in water. So Michael, gets the word that he gets to hold her, and I'm like, brace for impact. It's
brace for impact.
Yeah, because you have to hold her, and it's not super relaxing because there's a lot of machinery. There's a lot of alarms. There's times where, like I said, they've had to resuscitate her while she's on you. There are times where they've had to take her and put her back, and something's wrong, And so there's a lot of, and it's never just, oh, my baby, you always think she's gonna die. That's my first thought because she's so fragile. So it's very roller coaster-ish without seatbelts on. And when you're holding her, you're afraid to move too much. You're afraid to wiggle around, and you get tense and tight, and you get, your whole body, and you're holding her for a few hours, even though it's precious and amazing and it's a miracle. And he was like this, and she was a lot bigger, but she slept the whole time she was on him. Of
when
course,
you say a lot bigger, how much is a lot bigger?
Oh, yeah, I mean, not
pound and a half.
Yeah, maybe a pound and a half, 2 pounds. So it's still mini human, but not ounces. Like she was in the pounds, so we had graduated to the pounds at this point. But it was more the breathing stability, like that she was doing okay with her breathing and lungs before. And then I think maybe my mother and father-in-law were at a point where they were visiting because they were back and forth, and they got to hold her too. Oh, wow. But that was very special because it was just mom and dad, and mostly mom.
And that's amazing. They let other people.
It was much further on, like when we were no breathing assistance and pretty stable baby. The nurses are holding to feed her. It wasn't a feeding tube. So it was at that point that they were able to hold her. But yeah, it was pretty powerful.
Were you pumping this whole time?
Yep.
My goodness.
Yeah. So I was determined.
They wanted her to have that.
Yeah,
milk.
and I was determined to do something. And there was one thing in the world that I could do that no other mother could do, or no other person in that NICU could do, and that was provide milk for her.
That's
and
amazing.
I was determined that I was going to do something. Now, sadly, breast milk does not have the calories required to sustain a baby that small.
Interesting.
As far as it's not like the formula is so enriched with all the goodness that they can possibly put in it, right? And so it's almost like cream versus skim, skim milk, right? Now there's a lot of incredible benefits to the breast milk. So we would determine, so what we would do is mix, right? And then there's a lot of energy in breastfeeding for the baby.
Yes.
And she couldn't lose any weight.
Right.
That was, lungs and weight were our biggest battles in the NICU. So as far as she couldn't, it was too much work
For her.
for her to do that. But we still did. And there was moments and times, and we worked so hard. And I think finally, even when I got her home, it would just be like 4 feeds were milk formula, and 1 feed was me.
Okay.
So it was a busy time. I was a busy woman, but I needed a job that I was doing to help my baby, and we fed well into her once she came home.
Did Nathaniel get to come in and see her?
No. So
That must have been hard.
they don't allow anyone under 18 at our particular NICU. And then once flu season hits, so we were summertime, but once flu season hits, like really restricted. I think you only have a certain amount of people that can even come in. We were allowed to bring a single guest with us every time. But even then that stops because it'll wipe out the NICU if you bring someone in.
I understand.
So he was not able. So he knew about this sissy. And at this point he turned 2. And he just knew about her, and her name was Naomi, and we're trying to explain. And my sister-in-law had got him a little doll, and he's all boy, but just so he could start like pretending to feed little baby, and started getting used to the idea of a sister. And it was adorable. And so we would FaceTime so he could see her, and her name's Naomi, he couldn't say it, and he would say Omi, O-M-I. And so that was what we called her. Like it became, she was Naomi, but we would start, Omi, you're sissy Omi. And he'd be like, Omi, sissy, and but he'd never seen her in real life and wasn't able to, which was sad until we came home. But yeah, you have to be over 18, sadly, to meet to make it into the NICU, the revered NICU.
So any other points before we close? We're going to close in about 5 minutes. In the NICU that you want to highlight before we close?
Yeah, let me think.
We will be continuing this podcast at least a couple more episodes. So
there's a lot more to the story.
There's a lot more to the story.
There's a lot more. Yeah. There's still some obstacles to overcome. There's some surgeries before we leave, and there's still some dark days coming up. But I like the NICU nurses are incredible, as far as the doctors are too, but they don't have time to comfort you. They've got a busy, the NICU nurses became my family. I spent more time with them than anyone else. And so if you ever in the NICU, God willing you're not, but if you are.
I'm a little large for the kidding.
Speaking to everyone else. But it is like they can be so compassionate and loving, and they're there for you too. And that was a huge balm on my wound. People want to help. People everywhere want to do something, and your friends are helpless. They don't know what to do. Yeah. They're like, what can we do? And besides taking care of my son, as long as you don't have the flu and you're healthy, there wasn't much. And so let them help. It'll bring them a lot of comfort, and there are ways. There are meals. I could sometimes go back and forth to our hospital, and almost every day I lost my car because I was in your brain's shrunk, and you're just going to the NICU to see if she's still alive and what today looks like, and you don't remember where you parked. There's 5 levels at Renown parking lot.
It needs to be a beeper or something.
Yeah, and every day I was like, oh wait, and then I would drive home and I'm like, where am I? And then I'm like, I've got a son and a husband at home. Oh wait, there's a meal train.
Oh, thank God.
Thank you, Jesus, that I don't have to think about food. And it's not that fast food's not there, is that there was something beautiful that I can't put into words about sitting around the dinner table with my husband and my son and feeling like a normal family. And it wasn't fast food, it was a meal. And we sat down, and for that 30 minutes a night, we were able to be a normal family that was eating dinner. Wow. And that was very, very cathartic and therapeutic. I didn't realize how important a meal train would be. And we had meal trains after meal train. After meal train, there was a lot of people helped us. And that besides, so get the help. And then, of course, I'm in this elite group of rare, this hasn't happened before, and sinking, like there is no one.
Not that you wanted to be involved in that. It's like getting the cancer diagnosis.
Right.
This is not a club I wanted to be invited to.
But even like someone with skin cancer can't speak to you like someone with breast cancer can.
Exactly.
And so I didn't have very many people that I would have some people like, oh, well, my boy baby was in NICU. They were in for 2 weeks. They were born at 34 weeks. And I'm like, over my head.
Yeah.
Like, sorry, you can't help me. And not to be like, you don't understand.
It's, you have to walk in their shoes.
Absolutely.
Really walk in their shoes to really be able to minister to them.
Absolutely. And that's where, for me, I was able to find a group on Facebook. I mean, for as much as we, make fun of Facebook and this, that, all the horrors of it, I found a group of micro-preemies.
Wow.
And there's one in Greece and there's one in Boston that were close to Naomi's size. And they were a lifeline. These 2 women that I don't know if I'll ever meet. I met the mother. One of the mothers was here, and she came and gave me a gift on behalf of her daughter in Boston. But those 2 women on different parts of the world spoke to me like no one in my community could have. Now, I had the support in other areas, but there was something beautiful about you're in a crisis, you're dealing with breast cancer, the death of a child, skin, whatever it is. There is someone out there, and if you're that person, make yourself available.
That's right.
Because since then I'm always there for a NICU mum. I've talked with NICU mums. Naomi's story has saved babies that were being pressured to have an abortion. And my husband has reached out to NICU dads. They'll put us in touch. And this is not just Reno. This is like, we heard your story.
All over the world.
Yeah, we heard your story. I've got a friend of a friend of a friend who had a baby in Reno that was under a pound. You need to talk to her. And I'm like, I'm available.
Wow.
And so that's just something about take the help. You need it. Let other people carry you. And then you turn around and carry someone else.
And
when it's your turn.
That's the reason why God chose you.
Yeah.
That's the reason.
Maybe. I don't know.
I've said this before, and I'll end this episode with this verse, is Romans 8:28, that God works out all, A-L-L, the biggest word in the Bible, things together for good, for those who love him and are called according to his purpose.
Right.
And he will take our misery and he will turn it for joy.
And point to him.
Yes.
Which is the most beautiful part.
Yeah.
Your life, my life. It's hopefully pointed to him because he gets the glory.
That's right.
There's no other.
That's right. Well, Angela, I want to thank you for, again, sharing your heart, and we'll be continuing this story, this beautiful, beautiful story of life. And that's why this podcast is called LifeSpeaks, because you're speaking hope to others that may not even know they need that hope.
Right.
And you're sharing your story. So thank you again.
Well, thanks for
and we will be back.
the honor of being on your podcast.
You're honoring me and to be able to share this, because it's so hard and tough and beautiful at the same time. So thank you.
Thanks, Leanne.
All right, we'll be
till the next episode.
Till the next episode.